Hello friends and welcome to the Edupedia World videos. This is the course Basics of Programming in C language, and in this video we will be doing some practical exercises on the switch case conditional statement. So we have already learnt about the switch case conditional statement in our theory videos, but here we will be doing some practical exercises. Switch case is a conditional statement. That means it lets you evaluate certain conditions and then proceed with your program accordingly. So if a particular condition is true, then you will execute some part of the code. If that condition is false and if some other condition is true, then you will proceed with some other part of the program. So this same functionality is implemented by if else if statement also, but the difference over here is that switch case is a very specialized version of if else if. So in switch case you only deal with the numeric values, okay, either character values or numeric values. Characters means single character A, B, C and so on, and numeric means just the integer values. Okay, so only these kind of values can be used to evaluate the conditions in switch case statement, and you can only evaluate that a particular value is equal to a particular constant. Okay, you cannot evaluate less than, greater than, that kind of conditions. It only does a matching of the values. So it is just like a menu. Okay, you can press 1 for enter a particular part of the program, press 2 for enter the another part of the program. These kind of menus you can implement using switch case, but not some complex conditions like if A is greater than or equal to 10, only then you execute a particular part of the program. For these kind of conditions you still need to use if else only. So let us start a program. We will just create a new file and let us save it and rename it as our switch case.c. okay, so for in the beginning we know that we have to include a header file. So let us include stdio.h. okay, why stdio.h? Because it contains the console input and output functions which we will be using in this code. So we will not be using any library functions, so no need to include any other header file. Now it is the time to start our main function. So main always returns an integer. Okay, so its data type, return type is always int main. Okay, now by default you should always return a value from the main function, so it should always end with the return 0 statement. Okay, but why return 0? Because we return other values if suppose your program has closed unexpectedly. So we are not going into that much of detail, so we always return 0 in our this course. In the basic course we will always return 0 at the end of main function. Okay, so now what to do next? Next is first, okay, let us discuss the objective of the program. So objective of this program we will decide. Let me first increase the size of the font. Yes, okay, now it is fine. Okay, so objective of our this program is that we will display a menu to the user. Okay, so based on the choice that user makes, we will either add 2 digits or subtract 2 digits or multiply or divide them. Okay, so display a calculator menu to the user and perform a mathematical operation based on the user's choice. So that is what we have to do. Okay, we will display a menu to the user, then we will ask him to enter a choice, and then whatever choice he enters we will perform that kind of operation on the digits that he enters. Okay, now first we need to take the variables for our task. So what variables we will be needing? Okay, we need to input 2 numbers from the user which either he will add, subtract or multiply. So those 2 numbers will need 2 variables to be stored, and what should be the data type of those variables? For numbers we need an integer data type. Okay, so int, let us name it as number1. Okay, and we have to initialize it to 0. So why do we initialize any variable to 0? Because If we do not initialize the variable to 0, it might contain some garbage values. Now, how do uninitialized variables tend to store some garbage values is because compiler does not check that. Okay, compiler allocates the memory location for a variable. It will not check that that memory location is empty or does it contain some data previously. If it contains any data, that will get reflected if you start using your variable before initializing it, without initializing it. Okay, so suppose I want to add 10 to my number. Okay, and I do not initialize my variable and just I add 10 to it, and suppose previously at that memory location a number 5 was stored. So you expect your result to be 0 plus 10 equal to 10, but it would be 15 unexpectedly because some garbage value 5 was lying at that memory location. So it is always recommended to initialize your variables when you take them. Okay, we will take another variable number 2 and we will also initialize it to 0. So now we also need to store the result of the mathematical operation. We will take a variable result for that. Let us initialize this to 0 as well. Okay, now we also need a choice that user will enter. Okay, so obviously we will have to take a variable in which we will input that choice and then we will compare it. Fine. So let us take a character variable. You can take an integer or a character. Any type of the variable will work with a switch case statement, but a string won't work. Okay, so we will take a character and let us name it as choice. So choice is a relevant name. So always try and use relevant names for your variables because that will improve the readability of your program. Okay, we will initialize it to 0 as well. Now you will ask that why a character has been initialized to 0. Okay, a character should, by default, what should be the value of the character? The default value of a character or an default value of a character in C is null character or backslash 0. So this actually has an ASCII value of 0. Okay, a backslash value actually has an ASCII value of 0. So even if you initialize a character variable to 0, it will be equivalent to doing this backslash 0. Okay, so these both things are analogous. They are both equal to each other. So if you initialize it to 0 or to a character backslash 0, it will have one and the same thing. Okay, so our variables have been initialized. Now our next step is to display the menu on the screen. So to display the menu, we will use the printf statements. Okay, so first let us write a welcome message. Welcome to the calculator program. Okay, and we will have to put a new line. So new line is put using a escape sequence. Any character followed by a backslash is an escape sequence, but there are a certain number of escape sequences in C, and backslash n is an example of escape sequence, which means that new line character will be introduced after the colon. So it will print a new line. Okay, the next output would be on new line after this. So you can refer to the chapter on console input and output. There you will have the detail of escape sequences in C. Okay, so in next line, let us now start displaying our menu. Okay, we will write press or enter 1, or let us use some character variables because we have used the character variable, so we should have character options. Enter A for addition. Okay, a capital A or small a. Similarly, we will have a new line character at the end of this. Okay, and then on the next line, for subtraction we can enter either capital S or small s for subtraction. Okay, and new line character at the end. Similarly, we go here for multiplication. Capital N and small m. and similarly we go for the division. Okay, so okay, so now our menu is almost complete. Okay, now let us see if it is displayed correctly or not. So let us first save our program. Okay, we can run this much of our program to assure that our menu is fine. So let us try to build it. If it builds successfully, then we will try to run it. Okay, so it has issued some warning and some error, and it is saying that you have misspelled include. Does not recognize that keyword over here. Okay, so I just misspelled include. Okay, so now it is fine, include. Okay, so compilation is done. Now let us run it. Okay, so our menu has displayed over the screen. So it says enter a or small a for addition, for subtraction, for multiplication, division, etc. So this much of our program has run fine. Okay, now what we intend to do is we will take the input from the user. So for input, we will first input the choice of the user, then we will input the two numbers one by one. Okay, so let us take the choice as an input. So we'll write on the screen printf please choose an option and colon. Okay, after this colon user will write his option. Then we will use scanf. So scanf is a corresponding statement to the printf. So printf is to print the output, to show the output, and scanf is to read the input from the console. Okay, now the syntax of scanf is that first scanf. Okay, then you will have in the brackets the format specifier. Format specifier tells the compiler that which kind of data type has to be taken as an input. Okay, so right now we have to take the input as the value of variable choice. So choice is a variable of data type char. So the format specifier should be for the character variables, which should be percentage %c, then comma, and address of the variable. Okay, choice. So address of operator will actually give the address, memory address of the variable choice. So that will tell the compiler that you have to store the value input by the user at this particular memory location. Okay, so scanf statement is complete now. It will. Okay, now what we will do is we will tell the user that okay, you have chosen this particular option. So you have chosen, then colon and percentage %c, which is the format specifier of the type of variable that you have to print, and that is choice. So percentage %c would actually be replaced by the value of choice. And see, here we are not including any new line character at the end of this printf statement, because we need the user to input the value just after it, right after it. If you put a new line character over here, the scanf would go to the next prompt. That will make things a bit unclear. So instead of putting a new line character over here, what we will do is we will put a new line character at the beginning of the next line. So that will also perform the same effect, that will get the same result, and this printf statement will appear on the next line and it will tell the user you have chosen this particular option. Okay, so now what we will do is we will ask the user to enter two digits. So one by one he will enter two values. Okay, so let us say printf please enter the two numbers. Okay, so he can enter both the numbers comma separated in the same scanf statement also. So let us see how to do that. Enter the two numbers. Skip this new line. Okay, because he has to enter the numbers just after this colon. Okay, so let us write the scanf statement again. And over here now we have to specify the format specifiers of both the two variables. So for both the format specifiers would be same because both are integers. So for integers the format specifier is always %d. Okay, so since we know that both are integers, both will be percentage %d, and then the address of both the variables. So address of number 1, similarly address of number 2. Okay, so both the variables have been now scanned. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to actually work we have to actually perform the operation as per the choice chosen by the user. So we will use our switch statement. Now in the switch statement, the variable that we have to pass is the variable that we have taken for the choice, that is choice. Okay, switch block has to be included after that. Now we have to put the case keyword. Okay, case keyword will tell about the various values. Okay, so case, first case is for addition. Okay, it would be either capital A or small a. So you can write it like this: capital A first, then colon. Okay, now you will write your case statements below this. Whatever you want to do in this particular area, you will do it. So A is for addition, so we will write result equals to number 1 plus number 2. So our addition has been performed. Okay, so now here the result would be stored. Now see, we want to do the same addition in case of capital A also, in case of small a also. So first option is, okay, you write a break statement over here, and then in the you take another case for capital A and do the same work over here, and then write a break statement over here. But this increases the number of lines in the code, so it increases the length of your code, moreover your effort, because for same operation you are doing two different code blocks you are writing over there. So instead what you can do is, there is an option in case statement, if you do not put a break between two cases, okay, like I write over here also, case capital A colon. So what will happen is that it will first go to this statement. Whenever user enters the capital A, it will go here. Then it will see that, okay, there is no break statement, so it will simply go on to execute the next case, whichever is the following case. So it will execute the small a. So here we are doing it intentionally. Okay, so we don't need to put this separate case for capital A. We'll just put it over small a case, and it will execute for both the cases this particular line. Whether user inputs small a or capital A, it will come to this particular line. Okay, here we have skipped the break statement of the case capital A intentionally, so that this line is executed for both the cases. Okay, now on the next line we have case for subtraction, that would be small s or capital S both. Okay, so in this case, what does the user have to do? What do we have to do is that we have to subtract two numbers. So by default we will assume that number 1 would be subtracted from the second number. Okay, so that is what we assume. Okay, now break another case for multiplication, which would be capital M or small m. For multiplication we have the asterisk operator in C language, so this will multiply them. Okay, now we will take another and our last case, which is for the division. It would be D, capital D or small d. Now we assume that we will be dividing number 1 from second number. Okay, so that is what we have assumed over here. Okay, so now it will be, the result would be calculated as per the value input by the user using this switch case statement. And okay, there is an option that user might not input any of the matching values. So what we will do is, in the default case, so default case would be executed whenever the value of choice does not match either of the cases. So we'll display a message to the user, printf you have selected an invalid option. Okay, so break. Now our switch case statement is complete. Okay, what we will do is, now the result has been computed by this time, so we'll just printf and we'll print the result on the screen. Okay, the result of operation is colon, then percentage %d, which is the format specifier for integer data type and which is the data type of the variable result. So whatever the value of result is, it has been stored over here in this switch block. If the user has pressed A or capital A or small a, so the addition of these two numbers would be performed and the result would be stored in result. Otherwise it would be subtraction. It can be multiplication or division also. So this, whatever has been done, has been stored over here. Okay, now what we will do is, we will save our program and try to build it. Okay, let us see it builds successfully or not. Yes, it has built successfully, so 0 errors, 0 warnings. Now let us try to run this code. Okay, so it has displayed us the menu on the screen. Capital A or small a for addition, capital S or small s for subtraction, and so on. So let us try to multiply two numbers. Let us enter the value capital M. Okay, so you have chosen capital M. Please enter two numbers. Okay, so we will have to enter two numbers. We have forgotten to put a new line over here, so that is why this both lines have been displayed on the same line. Okay, so let us enter two numbers. Let us say we will enter 12 and 13. So the product of 12 and 13 should be 156. So the output is 156. So it has run correctly. Our program has run correctly. Okay, let us now correct our mistake that we have made. That was just a cosmetic mistake. These kinds of mistakes that actually affect how your output looks are known as cosmetic mistakes. Okay, so here you should have a new line. Okay, now let us just compile it again and run it. We will choose another option this time. Instead of multiplication, let us choose division this time. So please choose an option. Let us choose D, small d. Okay, so you have chosen small d, and now it has displayed the next line on the new line. So please enter two numbers. Let us enter 20 and 2. So the result should be 10. Okay, so now division has been performed and the right result is displayed on the screen. Okay, so now our program is working fine as expected, and I hope that you have learned the use of switch case statement. Okay, now we will, in our next video, we will try and improve this program. Okay, so there you will learn how to add your conditional checks to the input. Suppose in this case I will just try and execute this with some values that would cause some error. Okay, now suppose I choose division, that is D. Now we have assumed that user will divide the first number by the second number, but suppose I enter first number as 8 but second number I enter it as 0. So this would cause division by 0, and we know that mathematically division by 0 is not possible. Okay, so even computer will not be able to perform this operation and it will result in an error. Okay, so to solve these kinds of errors, okay, so this has said switchcase.exe has stopped working. View problem details. Okay, it has performed certain error. So that is what has gone wrong with the program, is that we have tried to divide it by 0. Okay, and that has caused an illegal exception. Now our program has been terminated. So to avoid such kind of situations, we can have some conditional checks in our program, which we will learn in the coming video. So I hope whatever we have dealt with in this particular video is clear to all of you, and continue to watch Basics of Programming in C language. Thank you.